All right, so today, let's talk about a book that has been everywhere, James Clear's Atomic Habits. It's sold over 15 million copies for a reason. It's not just another self-help book. It's more like an owner's manual for building a better life, one tiny, tiny step at a time. Let's get into it and figure out what makes it so powerful.
You know the feeling, right? It's that time of year, or maybe just a random Monday, and you decide, this is it. I'm going to get fit, or I'm finally going to learn Spanish. You have all this motivation, but then, a few weeks later, poof, it's gone. You're right back where you started. And it's so frustrating. It makes you feel like, what's wrong with me? But here's the thing. What if the problem isn't you at all? What if it's the whole system you're using?
So, this is the first big idea from the book. Our whole strategy is, well, it's just wrong. We're taught to go big or go home. We think we need this monumental burst of willpower and motivation to completely transform our lives overnight. But that approach, it's pretty much a recipe for burnout. Okay, so if that's the wrong way, what's the right way? Well, James Clear argues that instead of going big, we need to think small, like ridiculously small. The real secret to making change that actually sticks isn't some grand heroic effort. It's found in tiny, almost invisible actions that you do every single day.
And that leads us right into the core concept of the entire book, the power of just getting 1% better every day. I know, it doesn't sound like much. 1%? What's that going to do? But trust me, this is where the magic really starts. It's all about focusing on these small, consistent improvements that just build on each other, kind of like a snowball rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger. And that's what he calls an atomic habit. It's a tiny change, a fundamental piece of a much larger system. Think about it. An atom, right? It's tiny, you can't even see it. But it's the building block for everything. That's what these habits are. They're the building blocks for remarkable results. To really hammer this point home, Clear uses this brilliant analogy. He says habits are like the compound interest of self-improvement. It's just like putting money in a savings account. A tiny deposit each day doesn't really look like much at first, but you let it sit there. And over months and years, that growth becomes absolutely exponential. And get this, the math behind it is actually mind-blowing. If you get just 1% better, just one, every single day for a year, you won't be 365% better. Nope, you'll be over 37 times better than when you started. That's insane, right? It just perfectly shows how these small daily gains can lead to just staggering results. It's not about intensity, it's all about consistency. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? How do we put this into practice? Well, this is the practical part. Clear gives us a super simple, easy-to-remember framework called the 4 Laws of Behavior Change. This is your step-by-step guide for building the good habits and, just as importantly, breaking the bad ones. And here they are, the 4 laws. 1, make it obvious. 2, make it attractive. 3, make it easy. And 4, make it satisfying. Each of these laws is a lever you can pull to make building good habits practically effortless. Let's dig into each one.
All right, law number 1, make it obvious. See, every habit needs a trigger, a cue. So to build a new one, you have to make that cue impossible to ignore. A fantastic way to do this is called habit stacking. You just piggyback a new habit onto an old one you already do without thinking. So instead of a vague goal like, I'll meditate more, you say, after I brush my teeth in the morning, I will meditate for 1 minute. Simple, clear, obvious.
Okay, law 2 is to make it attractive. It's human nature, right? We're way more likely to do something if we actually want to do it. So the trick here is something called temptation bundling. You pair something you need to do with something you love to do. Maybe you only let yourself watch your favorite Netflix show while you're on the treadmill. You're linking that dopamine hit you crave to the habit you're trying to build. Law number 3, make it easy. This one is huge. Because let's be honest, we all drift toward the path of least resistance. To work with that, Clear gives us the 2-minute rule. Whatever new habit you want to start, you scale it down until it takes less than 2 minutes to do. Read 30 books this year becomes read 1 page. Run a 5K becomes put on my running shoes. The whole point is to make starting so ridiculously easy that you just can't talk yourself out of it. And this is so important because it helps us avoid a classic trap, getting stuck in motion instead of taking action. Motion is planning, researching, strategizing. It feels like you're making progress, but you're not actually getting anything done. Action is the thing that actually delivers a result. The 2-minute rule gets you out of your head and pushes you to take that first tiny step of real action.
And that brings us to the last law. Make it satisfying.
See, our brains are hardwired to want rewards, and they want them now. The problem is that the rewards of most good habits, like getting in shape or learning a skill, are way off in the future. So you have to find a way to feel good right now. And the simplest way to do this? A habit tracker. You know, just a simple calendar where you get to put a big, satisfying X on the day you did your habit. It feels so good to see that chain grow and not want to break it.
All right, so those are the 4 laws, the how-to. They're incredibly effective. But Clear takes it a step further, to something even more profound. He says it's not really about what you do, it's about who you become. And this is where we shift from just changing our actions to changing our identity.
And honestly, this might be the single most powerful idea in the entire book. It's the difference between a goal-based approach and an identity-based one. The goal is, I want to read a book. The identity is, I am a reader. See the difference? A goal is just a finish line you cross once. An identity, that's who you are every single day. It changes everything.
And this quote right here, this is what ties it all together. Every single time you choose to read one page instead of scrolling on your phone, you're casting a vote for the identity of, I am a reader. Those tiny habits, they're not just actions, they're proof. They're evidence you're building to become that new person.
So, why did this book blow up? Why does this idea resonate with millions of people? I think it's because, in a world that can feel pretty chaotic and overwhelming, this approach gives us back a sense of control. It's a reminder that we really do have the power to change our lives, and we can start right now with just one tiny action.
At the end of the day, the Atomic Habits philosophy just works. It's super practical and based on actual science about how our brains work. It's all about building reliable systems, not just chasing fleeting goals. It's easy to understand, and most importantly, it's not overwhelming. It feels like something you can actually, do. And if I had to boil the entire book down to one single sentence, it would probably be this one. It's not the one-time heroic effort that changes your life. It's the small, sometimes boring, but consistent things you do day in and day out. That's the real secret sauce for making lasting change. So here we are. The real goal here isn't just to understand these ideas, but to actually use them. So the question to leave you with isn't some huge, intimidating thing like, what massive change are you going to make tomorrow? No, it's something much smaller and maybe much more important. So what is it? What's the one tiny vote you're going to cast for yourself today?